Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about Ruben Amorim and what is next. What are the big dilemmas that he is facing, not only on the next few fixtures, the pressures externally, the players that need to go, the players that can't go. What's coming next? I want to open up that conversation. It is a Friday night show. I have been down the pub. I have got a beer. It is that time between Christmas and New Year to kick back, relax, and just do something at a special time of year that we don't normally get to do. Although, if you are new, we do this most Friday nights. It's just a little bit more chill, a little bit more interactive. And later on in the show, if we get time, we'll probably talk about 2 million subscribers, what's coming next, the people who got us here, the real story. We'll maybe do a little bit of that. But let's get into Manchester United. You might have seen my video about Nuno Mendes, so I'm not going to talk about that at the start of the video because I've done a video on that. What I do want to talk about is what's coming next for Ruben Amorim, because the first question I would pose to you is, if I said to you now, you're the CEO or you're Ruben Amorim, are there any players that you definitely want to take with you on this journey? And I think this is one of the biggest problems that, look, I think communities like this, and probably this community, are the best because I'm biased, but I don't really see these sort of conversations very regularly, and we probably do it 4 or 5 times a show, 4 or 5 big, intelligent topics. This one, to start off with, is a dilemma for Amorim, because when I look at this team, I think there are only 4, maybe 5 players that at this moment, in his first 6 weeks, you would say you are taking with you on the journey. And I think that's abysmal. I think that's embarrassing. I think if I was a Man United player, I would be personally embarrassed if I wasn't so rich I don't give a shit. Because that can be the only explanation. It's if you're a Brentford player or a Brighton player or a Spurs, maybe not Spurs, or a Liverpool player, you'd be laughing at Man United players, and Man United players would know it. But they clearly take no care or personal pride in their profession because they're embarrassing. Everybody can see it. You can see it, I can see it, any other professional footballer can see it, that these players struggle under any other style of football other than sit back, counter-attack, shoot moments, Hollywood passes. They can't do anything else. They're moments players. They can't play in a modern system. They are not modern players. Every time we bring a manager in that has a style of play, whether it's Rangnick, whether it's Ten Hag, and whether it's Amorim, and all 3 of those players, all three of those managers, coaches, had a distinctive style of play. Rangnick abandoned it after half an hour. Ten Hag never achieved it in 2.5 years, and Amorim's not got anywhere near it after 7 weeks. So it reflects badly on these players that they have such low IQ, they can't adapt to the modern game of pressing, possession, not being selfish. They really, really struggle with it. So I look at the current United side at the moment, and one of the biggest problems Amorim's got is that in the first 6-7 weeks, you would expect a few players to kid you. I'd expect to be conned. Like, I remember when I used to work in the police years ago, and I was in uniform. I only did it for a year, and then I went into being a detective. But when you used to work on a shift, you'd work shifts. So you'd start 7 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 11 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. They were the 3 shifts. And you'd have a team of about 8 of you on it. And you'd have a sergeant. And the rotation of sergeants was quite every 6 months. You'd always get a new sergeant every 6 months. And the lazy people on the team, when you got a new sergeant, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, they'd walk in with the lube and bend over, making the tea, doing every single job. And after about a month, the laziness would come back, can't be arsed, this, that, and the other. So you would expect that from Man United players, that in the first few weeks of Amorim, they'd try and kid him. All the lazy players, all the injured players would be fit, all the lazy players would be playing like, their very, very best. They've not even managed to do that. Explain that one to me. But what are your thoughts on this? For me, so far, out of a squad of touching 30, there are only 4 or 5 players that you would definitively say, I'm going to take them with me on this journey, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And those players for me, by the way, would be Mazraoui, De Ligt, Agate, Ahmad. There is another one. Why can't I think who it is? Help me out in the chat. I've had a few beers. It's killing my brain cells. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Agate, and Ahmad would be the 4 I would definitely take. No, it's not. No, not Menu, not Yoro. No, it's not. Not Rasmus. No, it's not. No, absolutely not. Because they haven't proved themselves under the manager yet. I'm not saying that they won't become that, but there is only 4 players, I think, in the first 7 weeks that have actually proven to Amorim that they're up for it. De Ligt's done well, Agate's done well, Ahmad's done well, and Mazraoui's done well. I can't think of another player. Obviously, I would take Menu, I would take Yoro. Of course, I would take them because I think they've got potential. But on actual, we've performed, Menu's not played well. Yoro's not really had much of a chance, to be fair. I think that's appalling that there are only 4 players that I would take. Now, look, Martinez, no, not for me. Maguire, maybe. I would concede that. Maguire, maybe. But the trouble with Maguire is he's on 190k a week and he's 32 in a couple of months and he's injury prone. So that obviously hinders that. And also, I would say about Ahmad, only on the right side. I don't think he's done particularly well as a 10. I'd rather he played on the right-hand side. But 4 players out of a squad of 25 is a huge dilemma for Amorim in your first few weeks. You'd want that to be at least 12, and it's 4. That's pitiful. And we can all argue about other players, but I don't think, other than De Ligt, Mazraoui, Agate, and Ahmad, I don't think any other player deserves to be in the category of those 4 of players that have shown Amorim that they're capable. I don't think anyone else has. Doesn't mean they're not trying. I just don't think they've shown the technical IQ that's needed to play in an Amorim system. That's terrifying. And that is a big, big dilemma. And I don't know how he solves that because this is my concern going into the second dilemma of playing Newcastle on Monday, Liverpool a week on Sunday, and Arsenal in the Cup the week after that. I think those 3 games terrify me if we've only got 4 players that we can trust. And if these players aren't going to start stepping up, then we need to call them out. Like I say, Yaro, Menu, etc. are young players that you want to be part of the future, but they have to step up. He's shown immense faith in people like Dalot and Bruno, and they've let him down. Don't get me started on certain other players that have been an absolute disgrace. I would include Rashford, Casemiro in that. I think Casemiro is appalling. I know people don't agree with me on this, but he's on 350k a week. He's our best paid player, and he can't even get on the fucking pitch. What the fuck are you doing with yourself, mate? Like, are you just shit now, or is there a bigger issue going on? So yeah, it's a big, big dilemma as you go into these big 3 games to try and figure out what's coming next. Now, obviously, we've done the video on Nuno Mendes, and it's interesting that we're looking at left backs, but he can't solve every problem in a January transfer window, and he can't sell every problem in a January transfer window. So I think what's next is, and I want to bring this in because it's not the first time we've had this story, but I have a feeling, and I'm going to guess at this, I have a feeling that Xerxes might get moved on in January. I just think there's no smoke without fire. I don't like doing this because it's not fair, and that's why I'm saying it's not fair, but I can have an opinion. I think this is coming from him and his agent. I don't think this is even coming in from Man United. I don't think he's happy at Manchester United. I think this is, I wouldn't say it's a Di Maria, that's not fair, but it might be an Alexis Sanchez, where the deal he wanted to do was Man City, and Man United came in with the money, and they followed the money. And then they felt it was a mistake. And I think with Xerxes, the deal they were going to do was AC Milan. Man United came in with the money and they went for Man United. And I think they're regretting it because I think the noise that's coming from Italy cannot be led by Man United. And it just stinks to me of agents because it's not even the same Italian club. One day it's Inter, one day it's Milan, and now it's Juventus again. And I think that, I just think that Man United might look at it and go, not that it's going to make us any money for FFP, it won't. I mean, we probably wouldn't recover the £34 million, would we? We might break even on it and get the money back. But the thing that people don't realise is, if we can do a deal with Juve or somebody for £34 million, you get the money back. Like, the money comes back. Like, the 34 million that you'd spent on FFP goes off FFP. You don't make a profit, it's not like, oh, it's, pure profit, but the 34 million comes back because it's like lending your mate £34 million. Who does that? It's like lending your mate 34 quid in the summer, and then after Christmas, he gets a bit of Christmas money and goes, there's the 34 quid back. You got 34 quid back in your pocket. So yeah, it's not pure profit in the sense of a Rashford, but it would be £34 million back into the fund. And I just think that, I just don't think Xerxes suits Amorim. I don't think Xerxes settled at Man United, and I think Man United might cash in on it. I mean, that I wasn't meant to talk about that, but it just came into my head then when we were talking about what needs to be happening and what's coming next. And obviously we're going to talk about the transfer window and how important that's going to be. But I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling that's going to happen. Maybe sooner rather than later. I think it will happen. I don't think Xerxes is a bad player, by the way. I really don't. I think he's going to be one of those players that we don't hear the last of, whether he stays at Man United or not. I think there will be a development of his talent, because I think he is a talented player. The circumstances at Man United may not suit him. I would fight any opinion that says he's pure shit. I don't agree with that. I just don't know that he suits the way that Amorim wants to play. And the reason I say that is he's certainly not a number 9 in the mould of a Gyökeres. And he's not a player that can play in behind in the way that Sporting play, because he's just not energetic enough. He's more Berbatov, and you need Tevez. You know, prime Tevez in behind. I mean, look, if we had, I don't want to make you cry, but you know the Amorim system that people have got a problem with. Like, I can pick a team for Amorim in a 3-4-3 that never played a 3-4-3. They never played under Ruben Amorim, and they never played in the modern game in this way. But if you had Van der Sar in goal, and then your 3 centre-backs were Stam, Rio Ferdinand and Vidic, and then your wide players were Patrice Evra down the left, and I'd put David Beckham on the right, or you could put Ryan Giggs on the left and put Dennis Irwin on the right. I mean, they'd be brilliant in that role. Your midfield 2 would be a piece of piss. It'd be Roy Keane and Paul Scholes. And then you could have 2 10s that could be Rooney, Tevez, and then your number 9 would probably be prime Ronaldo. You'd fucking walk everything. So we have had, the thing is, people look at the present and go, style of play. Our players today can't do it, but I can pick players from the past that have never played this system that would fit it like a glove. And that's why I can look at someone like Xerxes and say, much the same as Rashford and Garnacho, I don't know where they fit into this system. I really don't. I know Ryan Giggs would be a bloody brilliant left-sided in a 3-4-3. Ryan Giggs in a 3-4-3 on the left-hand side would fit it like a pair of comfy slippers. He'd be brilliant at it because he knew how to track back and he was brilliant going forward. I think David Beckham would do it really well on the right-hand side as well. As I said, I think Rooney, Tevez would be perfect behind a Gyökeres in a Sporting system because of their work rate, their speed, creativity. They'd be superb. Ji-sung Park would be very good as well. But I don't think Xerxes got the legs to do that. I don't think he's got the tenacity, and I think you need that. You need that work rate. And Amorim has dropped the hint so many times about relentless work rate. And I don't think Xerxes got it, and I don't think certain other players have got it. So, look, I think it'd be very sad for Xerxes to go in January, but if he's going to go in the summer, why wouldn't you do it in January? You know, we got rid of Ashworth. But I think he's got, as I said, going back to the topic, I think he's got a big problem/dilemma over the next few weeks. You're going to play 3 games where you can't hide against 3 well-coached teams with teams that know what they're doing and players that are better than ours. I look at Everton and I think it's great what they've done. They went to the Emirates and drew. They drew at home to Chelsea and they went to Man City and drew. So anything is possible, but even Everton are better organised than us at the moment. And I think Newcastle at home, Liverpool away and Arsenal away could easily be three losses. And those 3 losses will pile immense pressure onto a manager that really doesn't deserve it. And the only way INEOS can quell that movement of unfairness against Amorim is to be active from day one of the transfer window. I think we've got to go on the B of the bang. You know, when it hits the 1st of January, we've got to be going bang, 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 because we need to be improving instantly. I still look at the Europa League and, yeah, I agree it's all or nothing. I agree there's no room for error. I think if you win the FA Cup, you go into the Europa League. Well, you do. We did. But if you win the Europa League, you go into the Champions League. We're never getting top 4. Forget that. So the Europa League is what it's all about. We could bring 2, hopefully 3 players in January, and it could really kickstart our season and help us build and get better. I think it's absolutely essential. But the real dilemma beyond the difficult fixtures is, what does he do in the short term? Because you can't, this is the big thing I wanted to say. People will say, sell this player, sell that player, never let Bruno play again, etc. And I look at it and I go, well, no, we can't clear this team out in January, and we can't buy every player we need in January. Some of the problems will have to remain. And for example, I think with Bruno Fernandes, all this strip him of the captaincy, kick him out of the team, to me, that's a watching brief. Look, I don't think that's something you can do in January, and I don't think that's something we should be doing in January. As I've said before, Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Luke Shaw, Mount, Xerxes, Eriksen, Casemiro, Malacia, give me more, are bigger problems than Bruno. Solve those problems before you solve that problem. As many people quite rightly said, was Scott McTominay the biggest problem in the summer? He was a player I wanted to move on, but did we move other players on that deserved to go first? No. And I think with someone like Bruno, you know you're going to get the efforts, and you know he's not the biggest problem. What I would do if I was Amorim, I'd be using the next few months to make a mind up on Bruno for the summer, because you'll get more takers on Bruno in the summer, maybe even Saudi. And playing in Saudi hasn't prevented Ronaldo playing for Portugal. So I wouldn't be looking at Bruno out of the team in January. I'd be looking at a watching brief. And look, I don't normally comment on some stuff like this, but there was a fantastic clip on Twitter today where Bruno got the ball against Wolves. And he sort of centre circle slightly to the left. He's under no pressure. And he's got 4 5 to 10 metre passes ahead of him. 1 to the left, 2 to the right, and 1 diagonal forward. He looks around at all passes and then hits a 50-metre Hollywood pass out to, might be Mazraoui, but it doesn't get there because it gets intercepted. And look, anybody can make that mistake, but we also know that Bruno's done that a lot. And you look at that and you go, as a coach, I can't accept that. I can't accept the second yellow card. I can't accept that we played for 40 minutes and lost a game because you got sent off. But I can't accept that type of passing. But I wouldn't be in a rush to get rid of Bruno until the summer, if that's what the plan is. I think in the short term, and I agree with M1K3, I think it happens a lot with Bruno. In the short term, I think the bigger issues in January are solve as many as you can. If I'm INEOS and Amorim, Rashford's got to go. Maybe you do the Xerxes deal. Maybe if Garnacho's got to go, he's got to go. And those 3, if you can get them done in January, that's it. Not to mention, can we get Casemiro out? What are we going to do with Malacia? So, it's only 31 days in January. I think, getting 2 or 3 players out would be amazing. So Bruno's not even in the conversation for me. And I want to bring 2 players in as well, at least 2 players in. So I think that's the challenge over the next few months, is to try and make some changes in January and a lot more changes in the summer, but also to make some improvements so that you're competitive in the Europa League. What happens in the Premier League now, look, I hate to say this, but what happens in the Premier League now is virtually irrelevant. Where we finish in the Premier League, you may as well finish 15th as finish 9th. It doesn't make a lot of difference. We're not going to get relegated. That's just not going to happen. I mean, I'd be very surprised if Leicester got more points than we've got now. So, and that's not going to happen. We'll easily get 40 points, so we won't get relegated. The Premier League really is an irrelevance. It's an embarrassment, but it's an irrelevance. It really is all or nothing in the Europa League. And what I'd also be looking at is, and this would be my major focus, I would be saying to these players, professionally, you're an embarrassment. I know you probably go home and look at your bank balance and look at the car on your drive and I nearly said the woman on your, I'm not going to say that, what's lying next to you in the bed, but all those things are superficial. If you didn't play for Manchester United and hadn't got this contract, they wouldn't be next to you, that car wouldn't be on the drive, and that money wouldn't be in the bank account. It's all very superficial because everyone thinks you're shit. I would say these to them. I would say this because I think there's a real issue at Manchester United with players who think they've made it. And as somebody is a certain age, and I think a lot of people who watch this will agree with me, money means fuck all if you don't have the respect and trust of the people that matter in your life. And a lot of being a footballer is very superficial. You get money and you get fame and you get hangers on because you're doing something that everybody wants to do. And when it's going well, everybody absolutely adores you. And when the money's pouring in, people will stay with you. But, you know, today's Ronaldo is tomorrow's Dele Alli. And what I mean by that is that at one point, Dele Alli's career looked amazing. And I know he's had all the mental health issues and everything like that. But my point is not about that. It's about the superficial world. People aren't that interested in you when they think you're shit. And these Man United players need to switch on because in no time, their career will have passed them by. They're at Man United for a reason, but they're not delivering. And if I was Amorim, I'd be saying, over the next few weeks, I can't solve every problem. But if I could, most of you wouldn't be here. I think your input over the first 7 weeks of my time here has been abysmal. But more importantly, your input before that is abysmal because you've sacked a manager as well. So collectively, over the last 6 months, I think your input in a Man United shirt has been horrific. And if I was any of you lot, I would be ashamed. And in your head, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, who's this idiot? I'm on a massive wage. I've got people around me telling them I'm great. I've got a fantastic house. I've got a fantastic bank balance. But I tell you what, none of those things mean anything. They're all superficial. Because really, everybody around you won't say what the truth is. You're a bit of a fraud. You're a bit of a fraud. Obviously, the abuse isn't fair, but if I ask 100 people around the streets, do we think this player is a good player? Top answer, no, we don't. You're not respected in the profession that you profess to enjoy or care about. At this moment in time, there is only 4 of you that I think deserve to go with me on this great journey of making Man United great again. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Agate, and Ahmad. And the rest of you, you don't deserve it. And what I want to see over the next 2 months is I want to revisit this in the middle of February, and I want to add to those 4 players another 10. And that's the challenge I lay out to you. And I believe that some of them can. I mean, I genuinely believe some of them can. You've mentioned Mainu, you've mentioned Yoro. I can think of another 6 or 7. Easily. But that's what they need to do. Because at the moment, they're professionally embarrassing themselves. This is not unfair criticism. It's consistently underperforming from players who can do a hell of a lot better, who for some reason are disengaged. And they're multimillionaires. But if money is your god, there are other leagues that you can go and play in. This is the Premier League. This is Manchester United. You will earn your rewards anyway. But at the end of your career, is money your god, or is it actually achieving things on a football pitch? And that's what we need to find. I didn't let out a fart, Wilson. No, not managing to train properly is not helping. Says Daz. And also, what Rasmus pays you must pay more, says Cust. I mean, we've not even spoken about Rasmus in this show. I don't get paid by anybody. I'm not falling into your little trap. 2 million subscribers, best community in the world. Go and find one of the little channels with the idiots and leave us alone. It's a Friday night show. Those 4 players will end up with injuries when they have to play every game. What do we do then, says Tom Acton. Well, also, it might not be lost on some of you lot. Mazraoui, De Ligt, Agate, Ahmad. Who can solve this problem? There's a problem there. The only 4 players I believe deserve to go on the journey. There's a problem. Who can solve the problem? Marvin, I don't care whether you don't think Rasmus is any good. I'm not talking about Rasmus tonight. It's got nothing to do with Rasmus. My point is, I'm not on the payroll of anybody. I've been on Ten Hag's payroll. I've been on INEOS's payroll. I was on Rashford's payroll when I stuck up for him for Belfast. I'm on Rasmus's payroll as well. I'm on nobody's payroll. I'm on nobody's payroll. And if you want childish comments, there are other channels for that. Toxic, vile, make-up lies channels. Fair play to them. It ain't easy. The grind is hard, but that's your level if you want to start having those conversations. I want to have conversations about Manchester United and getting Man United back on top. I'm not interested in Player FC and silly little playground, conversations. I want to talk about big topics. I want to talk about things that matter, like why INEOS aren't delivering at Manchester United, why players aren't putting on a shirt and delivering. These are serious topics that are the reason we're 14th in the league and the reason we've not been in a title race for 10 years. I don't want to talk about Player FC. I don't want to talk about silly little things like that. It's childish. You're better than that. That's why we've got 2 million subscribers. That's why we're the biggest community in the world, because we have proper conversations. Has anybody figured out the problem with the 3 players? Well, Matthew Gartel has, in a way, Eric Ten Hag signings. Well, no, it's not even that. Ahmad, Mazraoui, De Ligt, Ugarte. The problem with it is 3 of them only signed in the summer. And what we know is any new signing that comes to United that does well at the start very quickly becomes the same as the rest. Bruno was very good for his first 18 months. And now, most of you would sell him. So my concern is, out of the 4 players that I would take on this journey, 3 of them have only been here 5 months. That would worry me. Because is it because they've only been here 5 months and they've not become indoctrinated into the inconsistent toxicity yet? That's what you need to worry about. Josh says, Romano says, not much activity for United during the January window. I'll be INEOS out, if so, from the frying pan to the fire. Josh, it's very, very simple. I think there is an attempt to make Man United fans think we're not going to do any business in January. If we don't do any business in January, there needs to be serious questions asked about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Because I don't know why you would say to Amorim, we're not waiting till the summer, we need you now, and then do nothing for him. You're basically sacking the guy if you're asking him to go 3/4 of a season with no signings and he's losing every week. We have to do business in January, and if we don't, they need to go. Liam says they're not English. That wasn't what it was. Hi, Mark. Would you take Matoma from Brighton if we can get one or both of Garnacho and Rashford out? Summer is the more likely, but January is not impossible, says James. Look, I'm very interested to know who those players could be that we could bring in to replace. But they've got to be... I don't think some people can get their head around this, and I certainly don't think journalism can. If you know anything... if you know anything about Amorim's system, it's very specific. Remember when we had... was it Pedro? I can't remember what his name was, Pedro or something. When we first got Amorim, he sent us loads of information on him. And he basically said it's very difficult to recruit players for an Amorim system because it's a very specific system. And on the other hand, therefore, it's very difficult to inherit a club and have all the players that you need. If we get rid of Garnacho and Rashford and Xerxes because they can't play in behind a striker, then the players that we bring in will have to be specialists in doing that particular role. A lot of people have mentioned Goncalves from Sporting, haven't they? Aryan says, do you reckon Player FC started from Ollie as we only had individual moments due to the lack of personality Ollie had, says Arjan. No, I think Player FC started with Ronaldo and Messi, because I think Ronaldo and Messi transcended Barcelona and Real Madrid. That's where it started. I think Jose Mourinho is a part of Player FC as well, because I think we got these big personalities that, combined with the development of social media, football fans started following individuals. Like, I remember when Jose became Man United manager, we had a load of people in the live chat who were like, I'm here because I support Jose. And that's what it's just developed into that. Congratulations on 2 million, says Ben. Thank you very much. African Cup, says Vita. If I'm INEOS in January, sell Garnacho, Rashford and Xerxes. Huge funds to sign Mendes, Edison and Kuna. Maybe even Pogba, Amorim would cry, says Mikey. You've ruined it with the Pogba thing there, Mikey. But honestly, if Garnacho, Rashford and Xerxes left in January and Mendes, Edison and Kuna came in, even I might do that. And I don't want Garnacho to go. And I don't really want Xerxes to go. But if you're telling me we're getting rid of Garnacho, Rashford and Xerxes, I don't know where they play in this team. But straight away, I know where Mendes, Edison and Kuna go in. So it's not even about the players, getting rid of the players because I don't think they're very good. It's about players that suit the system that we play. It's really concerning that 3 out of the 4 you mentioned are new players. This is it, Shahin. Shows how toxic this club is. I hope Amorim can fix the culture too. Not managing to train, done that one. Those 4 players will end up with injuries, did that. Cheers, Mark. Who would your choice of captain be if it wasn't Bruno, says Alonso? The problem with the captain beyond Bruno Fernandes is that there isn't one. Harry Maguire, I don't think is a very good captain. I don't think he is, because I think it affects his game. And for the period that Harry Maguire was a captain for Man United, that was the period where he got the most stick. And that's where he was pulling players out of position and playing really bad. The second we took the captaincy off him, he's actually done well. So I don't think that's a good idea. I don't mind it for 1 or 2 games, or 1 game in this instance. I think De Ligt is an interesting one, but then I'm terrified of what happened to Maguire. Player has a decent start, you give him the captaincy, and he becomes overwhelmed with it. So I don't really want De Ligt to get it either. So I probably, by default, would probably give it Maguire for 1 game. I don't think we have a captain, is the answer. I don't have the stat, but we've conceded a ton of corners last game again. Why not bring in a corner specialist, says Constantine. I heard my name and came here ASAP. How are you, says G-Sun Park? I'm very well, thank you. JHP says, I'd like Theo Hernandez, Davies. We need like Acuna, Rogers, even Olmo could be good. Need a clear out, get a couple of players in January, hopefully, says JHP. Don't forget, Maguire is on 140k if no Champions League, says Rex. I want Amas and Collier to play. Couldn't be worse, says Angel Bomb. Sell Garnacho so we can reach his potential at a club that can compete. Captains getting reds. Vets not playing with class. Vinios and Glazers out, says Dool. Patrick Lynch, thank you very much, says the fact that most of the players you named are new players isn't surprising. It feels like most of the squad are now realising that the player power is gone and have reacted accordingly. The new players haven't been infected yet, says Patrick Lynch. Hurtful Reply says, massive club, average squad, special manager, questionable owners, what a mess. Amorim can only do what he can. This is bigger than him. Thoughts? Spot on. Darren Lewis from the Daily Mail looks for controversial angles. It's almost to be Cook stories out of thin air, says Prav. You need to tell us what the story is. I'm choking here. I'm currently watching the Brighton-Brentford game. It's incredible the work effort these players put in. Guys like Matoma, so on, says B. Gino. Liking Trash, thank you very much for your super chat. I've accepted that we have to sell Garnacho, says Keel. Seth Walters gifted a membership, and so has Man United fan for life. James, welcome to the members club. Hi Mark, hardly anyone is mentioning that United pay 50 million in interest on the debt yearly. Another 10 years and that's £500 million out of our club, says Nigel. I think we're fully aware of it, Nigel. And it's always good to be reminded of that. But Manchester United's debt repayments, I mean, look, just a quick lesson in history, a quick reminder. Man United had no debt. The Glazers borrowed to buy the club. They've never put any money in themselves. So for some reason, the Glazers were allowed to buy something they didn't have the money for on borrowing and then put the debt on that borrowing onto Manchester United. So they never paid a pound of their own money. They put the debt that they borrowed onto Man United, and then the debt repayments, they don't pay, Man United pay. From a business point of view, it was an absolute win if you're a Glazer. From a footballing point of view, it's an absolute disgrace. And the debt never goes down, and Man United service their debt. It's disgusting. Carlos says, would you take relegation if it got rid of the scummy Glazers and the high-wage players? Yeah. Is that controversial? Yeah. I mean, I think it's that important. I really do. I think it's that important. And 1 year in the Championship, I can live with that. 1 year in the Championship to get rid of the Glazers, or another 5-10 years of the last 5 or 10 years. Like, we're never in a title race. We're never in a title race. Bradley Clout says, get Kirkes in instead of Mendes. I'd rather get a good player that can play 90% of the season than a great player that can only play 50%. Fair point. INEOS has chosen a new manager with completely different tactics and need of players than what Ten Hag had. INEOS knows that and should back it up, says Anders. Gregory Burke says, United should loan out these players who need to go while continuing to pay a portion of their wages to attract other clubs to take them on. Thank you, Gregory. And Bosch says, imagine having ownership in your boyhood club and making it worse. I would cry myself to sleep. Bet Edward's laughing right now. Love the content, says Bosch. Thank you very much. I mean, look, I think you're talking about Sir Jim Radcliffe being a lifelong Manchester United fan. I can't wait to see the evidence of this. I just don't see it at the moment. I think they're so quiet. That you know, they're so... Sir Jim Radcliffe's been in charge of Man United for a year, and I don't feel like he's part of Man United. He's, what's the word? Aloof, absent. I don't feel like he doesn't come across as a massive Man United fan. Like we don't get that, do we? I mean, if you were in charge or I were in charge, you'd be there every single game, and you'd be putting more out there. I mean, they've sacked people, they've cancelled Christmas parties. They don't. He's not acting like a lifelong fan who cares about the football club. He's acting like an absent, distant businessman. And fundamentally, the most important thing is he's not behaving like a lifelong fan, because there's a lot of things that are still happening at that football club that every football fan would have changed by now. So I want to see more. I remember a Real Madrid captain getting red, says Michael Mal, and I don't think they should go for players or sell any yet. They need to grind down the players and figure out actually who cares and works for the team, says Lord Fourcroy. I think they've already done that with some of them. Ayush says, if you use the same materials, it will always result in the same structure. And Ed Clark says, which manager since Sir Alex has done the best, and with it looking like the players being the problem, have we been too harsh on one or two? Yeah, I mean, I've said this before, Ed. I regret Mourinho, but I don't think any of us should feel guilty. We weren't aware of player power until Mourinho left. The players down tools for Mourinho. And then the second he was gone, they won 7 Premier League games in a row. And then the second Ollie got a contract, they down tools again. So we weren't fully aware of the player power issue at Man United when we sacked Mourinho. But in hindsight, we should have stuck with Mourinho and got rid of some players. But the Glazers are the Glazers. I think it's too soon to look back on Ten Hag as a mistake, to let him go, because I still think getting Amorim's the right thing. The Rangnick one was a mistake. So definitely Jose and Rangnick I regret. Ollie I don't regret. I just don't think he was a good coach. I think they threw him under the bus, but I don't think he was a good coach. But Rangnick and Jose I do regret. Would you buy Amrabat in January if you could? No, we're never going to go back there, Myla. I'm scared of this project, says Gustav. If Amorim goes after his contract expires in 2 to 5 seasons, then what? And Kenneth says, on another channel, someone noted that it's 50 years since United were last relegated. Weird synchronology or synchronicity. Kenneth, we've got more chance of winning the Europa League than getting relegated. And that's not meant to be like, I'm just saying, I think we'll win the Europa League. I don't think we'll get relegated. Looking at the league table, let me have a look. Here it is. We're in 14th place with 22 points, and we are 8 points ahead of relegation, which is Leicester. I just don't see. I don't see Leicester, Ipswich, or Southampton getting 30 points. And we are 8 points away from 30 points. We're not going to lose every single game. So we'll get 40 points at least. And that'll be enough to stay up. So I can't believe I'm actually answering that question in a pragmatic way. We will not get relegated. It's absolutely not going to happen. I've read that one. I'm just catching up on some of these chats. Thank you. That was from Kenneth. Have we both thought about it that maybe Amorim ball isn't working in English football? No. It's a great point, Daryl. But no, this cannot, in my opinion, might be in the minority, but I'm passionately against that. Have we thought about it that maybe Amorim ball isn't working in English football? That cannot be a thing. I've even seen certain Twitter accounts breaking his system down saying it won't work in English football. You know what? You know people who say that, you know, it's not going to work because it's not working with this set of players. That's like saying, I've got this guy who is an amazing plumber and he works in Spain and he's brilliant. He can fit a new bathroom in 2 hours. He's absolutely brilliant with his pipe work. I said plumber, not porn star. And then you get him over to England to do your plumbing. And he goes, I can't bring all the tools over, so you'll have to provide the tools. And then he turns up and he's meant to be fitting you a load of pipes. And you give him a load of breadsticks and Marmite. And then you go, he's a crap plumber. Well, you're not giving him the tools to do the job. So, as I said this morning, I think if you gave Amorim Wolves or Brighton, and I mentioned those two clubs for a reason because I think structurally they suit the way Amorim wants to play, he would be a very good manager. But tell me, let me flip it around a bit. If you want to start saying Amorim's football doesn't work in the English game, I'll answer that question very easily. What manager gets Man United in the top 4 with that team? And you're not going to tell me one, because they won't. What you'll do is you'll go, well, Ancelotti does really well. Yeah. Or, you know, Slot's done really well at Liverpool. You know, you'll come out with all these names. Oh, Alonso at no, but it won't work. Because Alonso at Leverkusen plays a style of football. And Slot at Liverpool plays a style of football. And Ancelotti at Real Madrid or PSG or wherever else he's been plays a style of football. And these players wouldn't be able to do it. So you can't say Amorim doesn't work in England because he's been given a load of shit. Give him the tools to do his job and then we'll judge him. We should get rid of Delo, Shaw and Malacia, then bring in Nuno Menendez and Frimpong. Frimpong would solve some of our creative... Dylan, I would love Frimpong at Manchester United. I would absolutely love it. Shahin says, I said it. Thank you very much for that. Should I have a few beers on antibiotics, says Caitlin? No. I don't think it does well with antibiotics. Sully says, controversial, but Sir Alex did this on purpose. Look at the squad Klopp left Liverpool with. Amorim needs God and everybody else to succeed. Mate, Sir Alex Ferguson left 11 years ago. And he left a title-winning team that David Moyes dismantled. It's got nothing to do with Sir Alex. Amazing how well the Glazers have fooled the fans, says Ben. Should I... watching the Brighton... I've done that one from Razmeister as well. We haven't seen Amorim's style properly yet to pass judgment, says Patrick. And I don't think we'll see Amorim's style of football for 18 months at least. I don't think we'll be anywhere near it for 18 months. I think he's told us that. I think at Sporting it took time. It will take time. But you know what I think about Amorim? Is that when it happens, it won't stop. It's like putting the work in for something, but then when it's there, it won't stop. But I think putting the work in to build it is going to take some time. But I think once we're there, it won't stop. And I also think that we haven't had a style of play for a decade. And people forget that. I said this last season with Ten Hag. Like, there were so many fans that were obsessed with style of play. And yet, we haven't had a style of play for 10 years. And I agree with Marvin. I think we're seeing some signs already in relation to possession. I can't emphasize this enough. The results are terrible, but we lost to Wolves because Bruno got sent off and Onana got bullied on a corner. We lost to Bournemouth because Bruno missed 2 or 3 really big chances and we made 3 stupid errors at the back. We lost to Forest because we scored 2 goals, but we made 3 stupid errors. We could have beaten Forest. We should have got something out of Bournemouth and we could have got something out of Wolves, but we've lost all 3. We lost to Arsenal because of 2 set pieces. So we are conceding a lot. We're losing games on mistakes. If we can eradicate the mistakes, things will start to get better. You would get us top 4 with this squad. Jokes aside, love the United Stands content and keep up the good works as the Big B. Mate, jokes aside, I don't think any of us would fancy coaching this team, fantasy or not. I really do sympathise with Amorim. I think it's just, you know, you look around you and it's like, who's going to war with me? And they're all looking away. Amorim needs to be backed in January, says Michael. INEOS needs to step up. This team is an embarrassment and the mentality is not there. I support the manager, says Michael. Never truer words spoken, mate. Absolutely agree with you on that one. We need to see this time as a transition. It's not even a season with Amorim, says Owen. Look, we're all impatient and we're allowed to be impatient and we're not just going to sit here and accept it because the minute we do that, the standards as a Manchester United fan drop. But the frustrations need to be aimed elsewhere. The results aren't happening. But there are positive signs. Like nobody is saying get Rashford back in the team. One of our biggest earners isn't in the team. And no one's saying get him back, he's the solution, because we know he's not. Casemiro's our biggest earner. No one's saying put him in the team. He might play on Monday because we need him to, but no one's saying get Casemiro back. So things are happening. Things are happening. It might be at a slow pace, but I think we are turning the ship around. And I also think that one of the encouraging things is that everybody knows the players are the problem. That's not under any doubt anymore. Even under Ten Hag, there were people defending the players and trying to put it all on Ten Hag. There's nowhere to hide now. It's on the players. I find it funny. I find it really funny because obviously doing what I do, you read journalists, you see tweets and clips. And if I go back to October, I can't be arsed. It's boring, out of context clips, etc. But there are so many people who were screaming and shouting in October about how Ten Hag is incompetent and, you know, he's not getting the best out of these players. And, you know, it's not the players, it's Ten Hag. And, you know, some of you will read these journalists. Some of you will watch this content and they're telling you it's Ten Hag, it's Ten Hag, it's Ten Hag. Those same people, because I've seen it, are now going, it's the players. It's the players. It's these fucking players. And I'm like, yeah, it was always the players. It's always been the players. You had people saying, no, it's the manager. If they're playing bad on the pitch, it's not it's the manager. Well, they're playing bad on the pitch now. Is it the manager? No, it's not. It's the players. And also, I think a lot of people are starting to look at INEOS and they're going, after 12 months, what the fuck are you doing? What is your plan? The only thing you do publicly is sack people. You don't do anything interactive. You don't display any level of enthusiasm or encouragement. You appoint managers and you leave them. I mean, look, Ruben Amorim's being hung out to dry again. Where's Barada? We haven't got a director of football anymore. I really hoped they were going to take bits from Bayern Munich and Dortmund. And I remember Mourinho saying that as a manager of Man United, it's you and nobody else. No one ever comes out and helps you. It's you. You're the manager, the coach, you're the PR guy. I really hoped that bringing in a CEO who knew what he was on about and a director of football who knew what he was on about, we were going to get a little bit of what Dortmund and Bayern do, where they have their CEO and sporting directors regularly talking to the press. Nothing again. I think Amorim is just, as I said, he's doing more interviews than Alan Sugar. But it's the manager again. I thought Man United were talking in the summer about having a manager that coaches and the board take responsibility. But again, none of these things are happening again. So I think it's good that there's a lot of fans starting to wake up to INEOS and saying, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you allowing stories to go out there about not spending money in January? Are you having a fucking joke? If you're not spending in January, why are you in this club? Why are you working with the Glazers? Are you facilitators? Like, what is your plan? Because everybody knows that Amorim wanted to take the job in the summer and you got him in now. So you need to back him now. What are you doing in January to facilitate this manager that you demanded came in November? Because we're writing off a season here for what? We could still win the Europa League and get in the Champions League, which puts money in your pocket, but you need to do things in January. Amorim has us playing well, but moments cause us to lose, says Eduardo. Eric Ten Hag had us playing bad, but moments cause us to win. That's the difference, says Eduardo. I disagree, Eduardo. I think there is a fundamental thing there that you don't want to acknowledge, and that's that the players aren't good enough. We're not playing well under Amorim. We weren't playing well under Ten Hag, and that's because we have this inexplicable majority in our squad that can't be arsed. And they need changing. Amorim has predicted this. He knows his trade, says Andrew D. What do you make of the rumours that United want to sign? Yeah, I'm not reading that. Thank you very much, CFC for life. I'm not stupid. Okay, right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I said I would only go through till 9 o'clock, and I will. But I did say I would talk about the United stand and 2 million, because we are on 2 million subscribers. Absolute legends. Look, we've got a lot planned in 2025, and very excited to get back out on the road and do some live shows. We just need to sort out where we're going to do them. We were meant to do one in the 15th of December, but we had to change the venue. So we hopefully get that up and running very, very soon. And we've got a few other things lined up as well. And, you know, from a personal point of view, I think that it's really interesting with the United stand, because when we hit 1 million subscribers, there were people that were on the journey with us that tried to claim that they were the journey. And I always stayed quiet about it because it's laughable. It's laughable. Like the amount of work that goes in to the United stand compared to what their work they put in. But what I take as justification is that the most important people in the journey to 1 million subscribers or 2 million subscribers is not me. It's not the people behind the scenes, not the people in front of the camera, it's you. It's the community that turn up and watch the content. That you're the real heroes here. You're the ones who built this. So obviously, I think that it's been an amazing effort over the years to get here, and you know, you've got to take your hat off, especially to, I think the move to the Manchester studio has just given it another dynamic, and I think it's fantastic what all the people do there, and there's brilliant people working behind the scenes, and obviously I do a lot of the content as well, but it's the community that we've built that's the real win here for me. And it's exciting to see where it will go, because it's just new territory. And I look at the wider landscape and I just think they wouldn't be doing that if we didn't. They wouldn't have a career if we didn't. And I think that's something to be really proud of. I think too many people just want to be toxic and divisive. And, you know, this was quite a toxic environment 6-7 years ago. You know, I think about that game against AFTV and stuff, but you know, I've been doing this too long now. It's a hard area to work in, and you've got to have thick skin. So as much as there's plenty of people out there that take a pop at the United stand, if they're doing their own content, I do respect it because it's hard work. I don't take any notice of that sort of stuff. But it's the community that really is the real win, and I'm very proud of it. Very, very proud of what we've done. I never thought we'd hit 1 million subscribers, let alone 2. So, and I think the biggest testament is that the mainstream is dying because it's losing its credibility and it's becoming more agenda driven. And it's communities like this where we'll always have agendas, you know, that's human nature. But I think we're becoming the mainstream. You're becoming the mainstream. Like, there's so many people watching this content now, and the conversations we're having are on a higher level than what you get in the mainstream. You know, they're still doing conversations about Ronaldo or Messi. And, you know, we're not doing that. We're having proper conversations. Krishna, congratulations on 2 million. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks everyone for watching. We're back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. If you want to watch the video on Nuno Mendes, by the way, that's out there. It's only a 7-minute video, so give it a watch. But 5.5 million across all social media platforms is incredible, says Matthew McFadden, who is a massive part of what we do as well. Thank you very much for that, Matt. But thank you to everybody. I mean, I don't see it as I say, I could individualize it and go, thanks to this person, thanks to that person, thanks to this person. But there's nobody working on the United stand at the moment that is self-righteous and up their own arse. And there's nobody, we had a great night out a few weeks ago, and there's nobody that never speaks about the community. Like if you'd been on our Christmas do a few weeks ago, we were talking about stuff, and the amount of conversations that come back to you lot, and I was doing this show and this, you know, so that's what it is to me. The thank you is to everybody collectively. The same problems are here with Amorim as it was with Ten Hag. I said we needed to fix the problems first. I want to see the problems fixed with Amorim, even if it is a pain at the start, says Ray. I love this. I love this. I love this from Ray, who's been with us for years as well. Big up, Ray. I love this. We've had short-term success. We've had short-term gain and long-term pain every time since Sir Alex. I want short-term pain, long-term gain. I don't mind if we lose the next 3 games, if next season we're playing good football, competing. I will take it. I don't know whether everyone else will, but I will. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Absolute legends. Back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic evening, day, whatever you're doing. Enjoy this time between Christmas and New Year. I think it's a nice time to reflect, relax, and have a bit of, downtime. I'll speak to you all later. Thank you very much. Take care.